This is Blake Temez with the Blake Temez podcast, where I speak as a Catholic layman to Catholic laymen about missional living, wisdom cultivation, and legacy building in service of Christ and his bride, the Church. Thanks for being here. As a Catholic man, it can be a particularly difficult thing, I've found, to let other people in to areas of struggle and different circumstances where you're experiencing suffering. And that can be chalked up to a number of things. There's obviously this stereotype in contemporary culture around masculinity and the necessity to remain stoical. And I'll say right now that that is a misapplication of the idea of stoicism, this kind of just closed off, numb, and unmoved type of expression. Actual stoicism is a bit deeper, something I want to explore further. But in any case, there can be this sense that that's what is expected from a masculine man, a man who values masculinity, is the ability to kind of close off emotion and not express it too much or rely on others for emotional support. And I know that that perspective can be really damaging to relationships, to mental well-being, and really to a man's capacity to be effective in the situations that are facing him, to actually respond effectively to those circumstances that are causing suffering or that he witnesses causing others suffering. To reflect further on that last point, when a man finds those people that he can trust with sharing his thoughts and his emotions around difficult circumstances with, he's found a great treasure. He's found additional resources to help him grow stronger through difficulty rather than being overwhelmed and limited by his circumstances. And so in very recent episodes, I've been speaking about briefly, circumstances regarding my grandfather's recent passing. And, that's just one situation where I realized how fortunate I am, how blessed I am by God to have a network of friends and family that I was able to share, even just briefly, right, news of my grandfather's health and his passing, and receive messages here and there, showing support, and how having that outlet for connection with others, I feel, enabled me to be a greater source of support to those members of my family that I was with, my grandfather's children and my grandmother, and being able to actually show up in a better way as a man by having those connections for emotional support and for spiritual support. And so I just want to speak that out there, acknowledge it as a real obstacle for a lot of men in certain spaces to recognize that as something valuable. But in my experience, something is lost and one's efficacy is actually downgraded if there's a lack of those supports. And so that being said, this is not a like a trite way or kind of an ignorant way of me like browbeating those who don't share their feelings or whatever that might look like. That's not the intention, because people may lack those relationships of even basic amounts of trust that make that sharing possible. There can be a lot of experiences and expectations to present certain ways emotionally that can really militate against that type of connection, even if it's acknowledged as significant or if it's acknowledged as desirable. There can be a lot of experiences and expectations from different sectors that make it difficult to make the next step. And so if you're in that position of lacking those basic trusting relationships, or struggling against a set of learned behaviors in regards to asking for and receiving emotional support from one's peers, one's friends, one's family members, I feel you there. And in this short podcast episode, I won't attempt to offer kind of thorough solutions to that, but at least as a starting place, one can write about one's experience in this regard. And even that practice of getting things a degree separated from one's own mind and getting it down on paper can be a great first step to doing yet another degree of separation and getting that thought or that feeling into a relationship with another person, in a friendship, in a fraternal relationship, in a mentorship relationship. So to reiterate, if you're feeling stuck inside your own head in certain matters, a great first step can be to get that out of your head onto a piece of paper by writing. You can call this journaling, you can call it reflecting, you can call it, keeping a log, whatever it might be. That's a great place to start. So, I encourage you to reflect further on how this resource of emotional support can be a great asset to any man in his ministry and in his life in general, and how you can impart the understanding to other men that you're working with to help them reach their potential, right? And recognize that emotional access is key to that, and not a hindrance to accessing true masculinity, that it's actually a complement to it. So as always, thank you for your time and your attention. I would love to hear your thoughts about this and any other topic that I've discussed so far. For now, God bless you and all of your efforts. Peace. If you're a young Catholic man or a mentor, missionary, or minister who works with them, or even just a concerned figure in their life, a parent, uncle, whoever it might be on the lookout for the release of a short guide that I'm putting together called Brothers by Blood: How to Forge a New Path for Catholic Manhood. In it, I'll expand on some of the topics in this podcast and give you some points of reflection to see about how you can be a part of a movement that empowers men and brings them to their full potential for their sake, and also for the benefit of the church, and by extension, the benefit of all society. So again, thank you for being a part of this, and look out for more information about the release of my guide in episodes to come.